Everybody mute your mic. We're going live. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Talk with the Titans, live from London, UK, all the way to the US of A and worldwide. I am your host, Kalam L. Tonight's episode is entitled Guerrilla Hebrew versus Polight, the Aftermath. This is Talk with the Titans, and I am your host, Kalam L. For those who are new to the show, this show is divided into 3 sections. The first section is dedicated to the Titans presenting information of their choice, followed by our panelists and audience interacting with the Titans, commenting, questioning. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. Please, brothers out there, Titans. Could you please mute your mics? UK, all the way to the US of A and world. Okay, we're having some technical difficulties. I apologize to everybody out there. It looks like the YouTube was on. So I'm going to just go a little bit backwards and say, for those who haven't actually viewed the show before, this show is divided into 3 sections. The first section is dedicated to the Titans. The Titans will be presenting information of their choice, followed by our panelists and audience interacting with the Titans, asking questions or giving commentary based upon the presentation. Finally, we will conclude the show with several rounds of miniature-style debates. So, grab a cup of tea if you're in the UK, or a bottle of beer if you're in the US. Sit back and relax, for I guarantee you we have an exciting 60 minutes ahead of us. So, without further ado, we welcome the man of the hour, the Emir of warfare, the lion of the pride, our brother, the Guerrilla Hebrew, fresh from his debate and course with the young phenom Polight. Shalom Aleichem wa barakatuh, brother Guerrilla Hebrew.
Shalom, shalom. Thanks for the introduction. First and foremost, I just gotta make sure I'm giving, all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High God in the name of His only begotten Son, Yahweh B'Hashem Yahweh Shai. Thanks for having me, Kalamel. Peace to the panel, and everybody that's watching.
Great stuff. So, I'm going to remind our panelists, please mute your mics when you're entering. Okay, we have the Guerrilla Hebrew in the studio. Wow, this is going to be an interesting 60 minutes ahead of us. I hope you are prepared. Okay, next up, let me just introduce our panelists. On our panel today, we have, an esteemed panel across the USA and the United Kingdom. So, starting up, we have our brother Stephen Graham. He is the director of Northeast Africa, The Hidden Truth. Brother Stephen Graham, could you just say hello and introduce yourself for us? Your mic is on mute, so please just unmute your mics. Everybody, when it's your turn to speak, just unmute your mic and we can keep the conversation
flowing. Shalom, Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Stephen Graham, filmmaker, documentary filmmaker, author, and just myself, really. I don't know.
Thank you. Wow, there's so many people trying to get into the chat room. Literally, if you're not here, I'm sorry, I apologize. We can't get you in. Next up, we have from Houston, I believe, our brother Asar Imhotep, Grandmaster Linguist, founder of the Madu Endala.
Peace and blessings. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Just like to say hello and welcome to everyone on the panel. I look forward to an informative dialogue, and I can't wait to hear what everyone has to offer in terms of this discourse.
Excellent. Great stuff. And just coming into the studio, we have our brother Jigs from Field African Radio. Brother Jigs, can you just introduce yourself?
What's going on? How y'all doing?
Excellent. We're doing great. Could you tell us a bit about your radio station?
Oh yeah, Field African Radio is where we have non-house Negro discussions. We talk about all that's going on in the community, black community worldwide, and in America, of course. And you know, we just try to talk to our people, no matter who you are, whether you're Hebrew Israelite, whether you Hotepan, Islam, Christianity, atheist, and just talk about issues that we all deal with.
Excellent. Great stuff. Okay, so today we're going to have a nice healthy discourse prior to our brother Guerrilla Hebrew giving us his presentation, giving us his interview, getting into his mind. So first and foremost, I just wanted to set the ground rules for everybody who is listening in via the panels. Please, if you're not speaking, mute your mics, okay? This is for not only for the rest of the panelists' benefit, but it's for the YouTube audience benefit as well, because the feedback, the noise is not going to give us, you know, a clean, crisp sound. So please mute your mics. Second of all, please do not interrupt. Do not interrupt our, you know, our presenter when he's speaking, or another person's cipher when they are speaking. Last of all, I'm sure I don't need to tell anybody here, is please no foul language. This is a PC, you know, family-friendly zone. We have children listening in, so please be mindful, okay? So, you know, please just respect yourself, respect our audience, and respect our guests, okay? Now, I have to just move the discussion on, okay? Because our brother Guerrilla Hebrew was on Sarnetta TV, okay? Sarnetta TV, with the young phenom himself, brother Polight. And they had a nice, healthy discourse taking place. I can see it got a bit heated at certain places. There is a 4-hour video, okay? There's a 4-hour long video. The first 30 minutes is actually out at the moment. So if you want to you know, get in gear or get up to speed, please log on to Sarnetta TV after the show is finished. And have a look at our brother Guerrilla Hebrew going up against brother Polight. But the title of that particular section of the discourse was called "Are Israelites Africans?" Are Israelites Africans? So I want to know your thoughts, okay? I want to know your thoughts out there, okay? So if you're out in YouTube land, okay, let us know your thoughts. The chat section is open live on the right-hand section of your screen. So please just type in, let us know. We're following everything that you have to say. Alternatively, if you are on YouTube, please type it in. Type in any questions that you have for us or any commentary you have for us, and we will air it live on screen also. Okay? Yeah. So we want to know, what are your thoughts? Before we go into that, actually, if you're listening in live or you're watching a pre-recorded edition of this show, you know, if there's any Nuapians, yeah, if you know any Nuapians out there, tell them to listen into the show. If there's any Hebrew Israelites out there, tell them to listen into this show, because this is going to be a very interesting show based upon the Hebrew Israelite doctrine, and obviously he went up against Polight, so it's good for the Nuapians to know, or even, sorry, wow, oh my gosh, the young phenom has his own movement furthermore. So he has his movement called the New Covenant movement. So if you've got any New Covenant friends out there, please let them tune into the show and see what we have in store for us. Okay, so we have our brother Smash Rockwell, member of the Amun Ra squad, otherwise known as Jonathan. Also, done a nice discourse on Sarnet TV as well. So I'm actually going to open it up to you, brother Jonathan.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, how you doing? Let me
I'm
say
cool.
Hotep Ila and Tuk Hena Ankh Uja Seneb.
Uncle Jocelyn Ned, correct. That's how are you? We just chilling, you know what I'm saying? Hanging out, ready to listen to the presentation by our brother Guerrilla Hebrew, and just tuning in to make sure, you know, we don't take no hits. You know what I mean?
That's for real. That's for real. Okay, so I'm gonna open it up for the discussion. Are Israelites Africans? Please, I want the panelists to answer this question, and later on, after we have this section, we're gonna go straight into Guerrilla Hebrew and hear what he has to say. So, who would like to go first? Brother Panahisi. Oh gosh, Panahisi, let me know. Are the Israelites Africans?
Without a shadow of a doubt, yes.
Oh my.
Without a shadow of a doubt.
Hey, you're gonna let YouTube is gonna be popping off with you saying that. Brother, let me ask you a question. Are you a Hebrew Israelite?
Yes, I'm a Hebrew Israelite.
Wow.
My methodology, my mindset is African first, I'm Hebrew second, and I'm Israelite last.
Okay. Okay. So you heard it from our brother. He said he is an African. Okay. A Hebrew Israelite.
Sub-Saharan Africa.
So I'm going to open it up. Who else have we got out there that's ready to speak? Brother Stephen Graham. I know that you've been out to Palestine. You filmed your documentary out there in Israel. So let us know, are the Israelites Africans?
Undoubtedly, the Israelites are African still. The Israelites are African, undoubtedly. In fact, if you go to Palestine, many of the Hebrews in Palestine who have converted to Islam even from the 7th AD era, and they still call themselves Africans. The Bedouins, in fact, themselves, who are Ishmaelites, call themselves Africans. The Arabs in Palestine call themselves Africans. So undoubtedly, that region is Africa. They don't see themselves as nothing but Africans.
Wow. 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 Wow.
Realistically, when you're out there with the people, you actually see, if you talk to them, they'll tell you, yeah, well, some will say they're Arabs, some will say they're Hebrews. Now, I ain't talking about the brothers from Dimona, because we know them. I ain't talking about the brothers from Dimona. I stay with them, I love them. But I'm talking about those who've never left that land, don't know nowhere else. You ask them, they say they're African. That's their views. You know, you're talking about Asian tribe, like Hamites tribe, who's been there for God knows how long. One of the oldest tribes in Palestine that's gone to the most of them you find them in Jordan today. Most of them will tell you, they all tell you they're African. That's their views. They're Arabs, but they're African.
Wow.
That's what they tell you. They're Arab, or the original black Arabs say they're African. They're not nothing else. They're African.
Wow. So our brother is saying that the Israelites out there, the Arabs
and the Ishmaelites, both Ishmaelites and Israelites, just call themselves African.
Both Ishmaelites and Israelites out there in the region that we're calling Palestine or Israel today, they're saying that they themselves are Africans. Wow, this is interesting. This is a whole new perspective. Have we got any other brothers out there that would like to give commentary on this? I'm going to open this up to Brother Jonathan. Jonathan, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, this is a question I think is a very detailed and sensitive question. When you ask, are Israelites African, primarily because we start to reference different people in different periods of time. And like my brother just mentioned, all of the people out there call themselves African. Well, that would not actually get to the crux of the question. I mean, you know what I mean? We are asking, are Israelites from inception, and is the kingdom of Israel that supposedly existed 900 BC, about that time, is that an African kingdom? And so we have to kind of like, clarify what we mean in terms of what an Israelite is as well. But my take on it historically, we know the Israelites to be made of what they call a mixed multitude. And in saying this is a mixed multitude, I think some historical attestations to the people who we call Israelites, as well as some non-historical, maybe biblical attestations, show that they could have been comprised of a mixed multitude. And that would be my answer.
Okay, so our brother Jonathan is saying that the Israelites are quite possibly Africans, but they are quite possibly mixed, an admixture of more than just Africans. And furthermore, where exactly did this Israelite kingdom spring from? Did it spring from the heart of Africa, or did it spring from somewhere else? So that's another question. That's another dimension to this discussion as well. Brother Jigs, if you're out there and you're able to talk, unless there is some background noise.
Yep, I'm here.
Okay. Let's hear your thoughts.
I would say that I believe that by and large the Israelites are African, especially if you are including that part of the region of the earth, part of Africa, which I do. I do believe that all the people originated out of Africa and split into small tribes, and the Hebrews were part of those tribes that split out originally. So I would say by and large, yes, the Israelites are African, as the brother said, and the Arabs were originally African. And that's what we're dealing with today.
Okay, thank you for that. You know what, on our YouTube chat line, we have people actually chiming in at the moment, and they're saying Israelites are anti-African culture. Israelites are anti-African culture, which is every black nation mentioned in the Bible. So they're basically saying that Israelites are anti-Africans. So wow, that's the views that we have out there on YouTube land, that the Israelites are anti-African. Who else is out there? Who else is here right now to give us their say? I see we have brother Ara out there, and we have brother Asar Imhotep. So give us your thoughts.
Who's going first? Well, I guess
Brother
I'll
Asar.
go. Peace. It's one of those questions that the wording has to be framed in the correct manner, because are we asking in a biological sense? And if you're asking in a biological sense, you have to have a biological and scientific criterion for being able to distinguish, who is what and who is not. Are we talking social political? And then, of course, just as Brother Jonathan mentioned, you have an issue of periodization. Now, I approach this from many different angles, and it's going to be interesting, and it may upset some folks, but the word African and the word Hebrew actually derive from the same root. But that's a totally different discussion. Now, when it comes to the nature of who are the Hebrews, again, as Brother Jonathan mentioned, their own text and history seems to pan out that this is a mixed multitude group. And it is my argument that the African component, as we understand Africa today, comprises of at least two groups of individuals. There are your Fulani, and there are like your collagen type Nilotic folks. And we can tell by certain words and certain customs within the Hebrew, the Hebrew texts and cultures, that these are the groups that the African component came out of. So we got to remember that even the Hebrew language, in terms of how linguists classify it, is an African language. It clusters with those languages that come out of Africa. However, the dominant group of these quote-unquote Semites are not what you would consider your typical Africans, and that's because of a convergence that happened in what the quote-unquote Middle East. And so the Semitic languages, the Hebrew languages, they do not originate in Africa, but it's a group of Africans who came out there and lived a long time amongst some other folks who lived in the area. And it's from that cluster that we get this Hebrew Israelite culture, so to speak. So not only by terms of archaeology, linguistics, but in terms of philology as it regards the particular text itself. So that's my fundamental understanding of things to this point.
Wow. Okay. Thank you, brother Asa Imhotep, for that. Whew, that was quite mind blowing. We've just gone through linguistics, archaeology, history, everything. So everybody out there, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? Are the Israelites Africans? Yes or no? Yes and no. No and yes. What is the answer? Are they Africans or are they not? Let us know if you have anything to say. You can message me live on Facebook on Kalam SPEL. Alternatively, you can message me in the group that we're in right now, or YouTube. If you want to YouTube us, just type in hashtag Talk with the Titans. That is hashtag Talk with the Titans. We are the first thing that appears on your YouTube search. If you want to Google us, hashtag Talk with the Titans. We are also the first thing that appears on your Google search. We have all of our previous shows showing live right there. As soon as you type in hashtag Talk with the Titans, all of the previous shows comes up, and any future shows will also come up. We've had on the show so far our brother Israel Doctrine, and we've also had our brother from the UK, Dr. Brendan Cashter DD, and we've also had on Wednesday's show, literally a few days ago on Wednesday's show, we had the Titan himself, Dr. Ali Muhammad. Woo! Did that show stir up controversy? Okay, so if you have anything to say on the matter, please hashtag Talk with the Titans, or follow us on Facebook, hashtag Talk with the Titans. You can find us in Amun Ra Squad. You can find us in Hebrew Israelites versus Kemetic Science. So you can find us everywhere. Just please hashtag Talk with the Titans. All right. In that being said, has any of the other panelists have anything to say on the matter of the Africans and the Israelite relationship?
Sure. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, brother Patar.
Yes, sir. This is Brother Patar. Greetings, everyone. Shalom, Islam. I was just going to make the comment, kind of silverbacking on what Jonathan said. Peace, Brother Sar. I don't know. I kind of dropped out and didn't hear your comments, but I hope I'm not repeating. I would just say from the biblical context, Abraham not being out of, well, everybody's out of Africa, but not being born in Africa, as I would think he would be born in the northern regions of northeastern African control. Possibly, actually Babylonian control. Then Isaac, his son, because Esau was kind of cast out, being the child, being somebody's got the mic open, being the child of Hagar, an Egyptian, and then Isaac, and then Jacob, and we know Esau. He married or mingled with some Canaanites, and then Joseph and Jacob and his children, they moved into Africa. So originally, I would say that the Hebrews were not African, and then I'm sure after they so-called Exodus, they intermarried and had relations with Africans and moved out of Africa, because we know Moses and the Ethiopian Zipporah moved out of Africa. But I would tend to say that their customs and traditions don't seem to be Egyptian, because they despise the Egyptians. So I would tend to say that they would not be Africans.
Okay, thank you for that, brother Patar. I think it's only fair for me actually now to give my personal opinion on the matter. Are the Israelites Africans? Well, that is quite a complex question. We will have to get the terminology right, the terms. What is an African? What are we classifying as an African, and what are we classifying as an Israelite? Okay, so in that being said, I would say that the Africa is like about it's about an 1850 invention. What I mean by that, we have the Scramble for Africa, where we had the top 7 to 8 European countries carving out Africa, carving out the borderlines of Africa. Creating countries such as Israel, countries such as Gambia, Nigeria, Egypt, etc. And in that classification and cutting off those political regions, certain countries dropped out of the black milieu, as we can say. From a biblical perspective, we can say that the Israelites, are the Israelites Africans? I would say that the Israelites are a mixture of Ham or Hamitic blood and Shemitic blood and Cushic blood. If we go back and we do the research, as you rightly said, Moses had a wife with an Ethiopian. In certain accounts, he had a wife actually with an Egyptian woman as well. We see that Abraham was actually brought up in Cush. So whether we classify Cush, this is Cush, Ethiopia, as Africa or not, this guy was brought up in Cush under the rulership of Nimrod, a Cushite. If we go back and we check other records, we find out that actually, Abraham's, I believe his father's wife, or his father's wife, was actually a Cushite. So this is very interesting. So what exactly is an African, or how do we classify somebody being a Cush person from Cush, person from Ham, a person from Shem? From the biblical narrative, we realize that, you are what your father is. So even though you may have an Egyptian mom, your nationality is an Egyptian. Even if you have a Cushic mother, your nationality is not necessarily of Cush. It's all dependent upon your father's lineage. So it all depends on how we're going to classify this, what type of terminologies we're going to use. Are we going to use today's terminologies, or are we going to use the terminologies of the culture and the time frame that was present? So I would say personally, based on my experience and going into places like Sudan, Nubia, and I've seen in the museums and the people there, they have a high reverence for Abraham. They say Abraham come from my land, Nubia. So this is quite interesting. So I'll say, based upon what I've seen with my own two crow eyes, traveling into these different locations, I would say yes, these people are Africans. I've been to Rome itself. I've seen literally on they have beautiful pictures, they have beautiful paintings going on. And if you see the way that they present these old patriarchs, such as Moses, they portray him as a black man. And this is quite eye-opening to me. This is Rome. This is the center of Catholicism, or the center of Christianity of the West, and they depict him as a black man. So I would say personally, from my experience of traveling, I would say yes, the Israelites are Africans. But I'm going to open it up now, to our brother Guerrilla Hebrew. I know he may not agree with what the panel has said, definitely may not even agree with what I say, because I know a lot of the Hebrew Israelites out there don't agree with considering or classifying themselves as Africans, or they just don't like to be called Hamites. So I'm going to open it up now to our brother Guerrilla Hebrew. Please let us know your thoughts on whether whether the Israelites are Africans, and please present the information that you've come today to give. I know it's a powerful presentation that you've got in store for us. So please, I'm sitting back right now. I'm ready to listen. I'm ready to learn. I'm about to pull out my Torah. Where's my Torah? I've got a bookshelf right now. I've got my Torah here, my Bible here. I've got everything ready for you. I want to learn. So please, brother, teach us something.
Well, the question, are Israelites Africans, like everybody said, is a compound and a complex question, and it requires a compound answer. In what perspective are you viewing African? I'm gonna give you the general biblical perspective. Africa is in my opinion a new concept. The biblical concept doesn't name that landmass Africa. Okay, we're dealing with the land of Ham, but the land of Ham isn't just Africa. Okay, we have to also understand that pursuant to the biblical perspective. I want to show you this Bible map. It's kind of worn. It's from my Bible. Now, if you see, let me see if y'all can see it. Hopefully y'all can see it. But as you see, this is Europe here, and this says Hittites. According to the Bible, Hittites are Hamites. We got Cush over here in Babylon, which is modern-day Iraq. So this is the Middle East, and then all the way into what we today know as Africa. So the whole idea of Africa and the concept of Africa is something that must be contextualized when that question is presented. Okay, if we're dealing with somebody being, if we're dealing with Africa being synonymous with Ham, as most Hebrew Israelites who present that information to you, no, we are not Africans in the sense that we are not Hamites. Okay, but is Africa itself just the land of Ham? No. Okay, we understand that you had original black people that were dwelling in parts of Europe. You see what I'm saying? And all throughout the Middle East into Africa. So the whole concept of somebody being black being synonymous with somebody being indigenous to the landmass of Africa is something that's got to be further discussed, because it's something that's not necessarily true. You got black people in Asia. You got black people in India. You got black people all over the world, indigenous all over the world. It wasn't until the introduction of the devil, the so-called white man, that hues began to change and things of that nature. So are Israelites African in that sense? No. Are Israelites African in the sense that Israel can be equated as Northeast Africa? Yes, you could say that. And it doesn't change anything by saying that, because we're just dealing with landmass. Israel is on the same tectonic plate as the majority of Africa is. So can you say Israelites are African in that sense? Yes, you can. You see what I'm saying? So it just depends. You got books like this book here, which y'all might have seen Shaka Amos plug, The Africans That Wrote the Bible, which is a good book. Now, I don't agree with it 100%, but it's a lot of valuable information in this book, as well as books like Revelation. Revelation document the migrations of the Akan from the region of Canaan or Israel or Palestine all the way over to where they now dwell now in the Ghana region. You see what I'm saying? So you can say that we're Africans in the sense of dwelling in landmass, that's fine. But as long as we're not getting it misconstrued, we're dealing with the patrilineage of a Hamitic patrilineage, you see what I'm saying, then it's fine, because it doesn't change anything. Africa as a concept is a new concept, you know, that we got to deal with. In my opinion, Africa, Asia, and Europe are all one continent, because they're all joined there in the Middle East. They're not separated. They're all joined there in the Middle East. So that's something that we also would have to deal with. As far as the Israelites being of a mixed multitude, Kalam, you touched on a powerful point in dealing with the Bible's perspective of patrilineage to determine your nationality. Now, you could argue that the Hebrew Israelites are a group of people who are a mixed multitude because we have mothers of various places, whether it was Syria and many of the Hamitic people. You see what I'm saying? But in all actuality, from our cultural perspective, we're dealing with patrilineage here. So patrilineally, we're dealing with people who are Semitic in nature. Now, are they black just the same as the Africans? Yes, because originally the Hamitic, the Japhetic, and the Semitic was all black people. The original man is a black man. I believe everybody on this panel can agree with that. You see what I'm saying? But again, that whole concept of a mixed multitude, yes, women of various other places were taken in order to procreate and progenerate the nation that is known as Israel today. You see what I'm saying? Now, somebody said something about Israel being anti-African. Real quick, give me Deuteronomy 7:6. People are saying that Israel is anti-African. Well, if you're talking about Israel being anti-Hamitic, okay, fine. Israel is also anti-everything else on the planet Earth outside of Israel. So you saying that it's not limited to that. You see what I'm saying? And that's something that's got to be understood as well. And us, as we, from our perspective, being descendants of the nation of Israel, can all agree to the fact that our plight is unique, and our plight is unlike anybody else's plight on the planet Earth, and everybody else profits from our plight, which is why we should all have this same mindset that we are anti-everything outside of us. You see what I'm saying? But give me that Deuteronomy 7:6.
This is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verse 6. The Lord, Salah, for thou art an holy people.
So we are a holy people, right, Red?
Unto the Lord thy power.
Go ahead.
The Lord thy power have chosen thee to be a special people.
So we are a specially specific chosen people by the Most High God. That's a very powerful point to understand. Everybody on this earth, whether they look like us or not, isn't a chosen people as we are. Read.
Unto himself.
Unto himself. Read.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Above all people. Superior to all people that's on the face of the earth. And the things that we do attest to that fact. The way that everybody on the face of this planet Earth is following our ways attest to that. Like a brother was pointing out, the Chinese man is wearing a fitted hat or a snapback hat that you was wearing. You see what I'm saying? They're not wearing dashikis. You see what I'm saying? They're doing what you do. They do everything that we do. You see what I'm saying? They're not doing everything that necessarily a continental African does. I'm not saying that there's not Hebrew Israelites in continental Africa. I'd be a damn liar if I told you that. There are plenty of Hebrew Israelites that are on the continent of Africa, but in general, when we're dealing with the Hamitic customs, people are not following so earnestly the Hamitic customs as they follow the black man in America's custom. Okay, and that's just a fact. We can take a look and observe that throughout the whole world. You got another precept?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 19. The portion of Jacob is not like them.
We are unlike the rest of these people on the earth. Hence why we set the trends and the tones for the entire planet Earth. Read.
For he is the former of all things.
Everybody is following after things that we establish, going after the trends that we set. Why? Because the Most High God has chosen us. You see what I'm saying, Reed?
And Israel is the rod of his inheritance.
We are the rod of the Most High God's inheritance. You see what I'm saying? Now, some of you people may not believe in the Bible and may not matter what the Bible says. But I think we all can agree that this black man that has been put on cargo slave ships and been victimized by the so-called white man here in America, in the Americas and elsewhere, because you got them brothers in England. A lot of them brothers in England is either West Africans who are related to the same people who were brought on cargo slave ships to the Caribbean, or in fact Caribbean. You see what I'm saying? But either way, everybody around the earth is following us. We are a very special people above everybody else on the earth. Nobody can really argue that. And the Bible is attesting to that. So this brings validity to the authenticity of the Bible and who the people of the Bible in fact are. Because everybody on this earth isn't following the ways of the so-called Jew. Everybody ain't walking around with them damn sidelocks that these damn white people that are running around Palestine right now are doing. You see what I'm saying? They're doing what we do, which again gives validity to our identity as a biblical Israelite and gives validity to the Bible as being true, right, and exact to who God's chosen people are.
Okay, thank you for that. Wow. So, you said a lot. So I'm going to actually ask you now. You've got a presentation or you've got some talking points that you want to discuss. I think you beautifully handled that situation regarding the Israelites being African. Yes, from a geographical perspective, yes, they are Africans. We are Africans. Hebrew Israelites are Africans. But if we're talking about from a blood lineage and a cultural lineage, no, the Hebrew Israelites are not quote-unquote African in a sense, but we're not talking about African in a sense. We're talking about Hamitic people. They're not Hamitic people at all. The culture, the customs is completely different. The Shemitic people or the Israelite people is completely different from the Hamitic people, just like the Hamitic people is completely different from the people, let's say, of Japheth, which according, I believe, is the Gentile race sprung from that, which are the Greeks, the Romans, etc. We can clearly see that there is a distinction taking place based upon biblical narrative and based upon cultural narrative, as we can see today. I think a lot of people out there may have a problem with that. But if we're using some type of logical reasoning, we can actually see, well, I can see, this brother is talking sense. Not all of us are the same. There is clear distinctions and difference amongst our cultures. Okay. I want to move on now to, you've got a few talking points that I would like to hear you discuss. Let me know, what first and foremost would you like to, share with our audience?
The first thing I want to go into is the science in the Bible. I would love to go into science in the Bible briefly. I just want to kind of touch on the surface of it. I have some upcoming lectures I'm currently working on that's going to go like in depth with it, but I want to go on the surface and deal with it because a lot of people say that Hebrew Israelites don't deal with science and the Bible doesn't deal with science. You're not dealing with the subtext of the Bible if you believe that. There's plenty of science all throughout the scriptures. The Torah itself, which is the law that the Most High God gave us, is science. It's science all through that. He doesn't just tell us not to eat swine for no reason. There's a science that we all can agree that says that swine is detrimental to one's health. You see what I'm saying? So that, just on the most minuscule level, shows science clearly in the scriptures. And it goes much deeper than that, especially when you start dealing with the subtext of certain verses, especially with dealing with the Torah, which is a perfect science. So I want to get into, principally, first and foremost, science in the Bible.
Okay, the science in the Bible, people out there, if you're listening in, grab your Bibles. I've literally just grabbed a hold of this holy Torah right here in my hands. So if you're listening out there, please, I don't want you just listening to the show. I actually want you to be attentive. I want you to actually research and be critical with everything that this brother has to offer. Okay? Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, if there's anything you would like me to pull up on the screen, I'm actually going to go now and pull up my King James, blue letter Bible. So I can pull that up on the screen. If there's any quotes you would like me to pull up for you, I can do that for you so the audience can see.
Go to Daniel 1 and 4. That's the first one I'm going to go to.
Give me a while. I'm going to have to just type it in, and then I'm going to share my screen afterwards. So, people listening in, we're going to go in. This is, Talk with the Titans, live right now with Guerrilla Hebrew, and we're taking it to the Bible right now to get into the meat, the crux, the science of the Bible. Okay, so we're going into Daniel's verse.
Yeah, Daniel 1, the first chapter, the 4th verse.
Daniel 1. Okay. So right about now, I'm going in to the King James version of the Bible. This is the Blue Letter Bible online, so you can follow this with us. So, our audience out there, let me know. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Excellent. So right now we've got Daniel. I know you've got your kara or your reader there with you, so please.
All right, go ahead.
This is Daniel chapter 1 verse 4. Children in whom was no blemish, but well favored and skillful in all wisdom.
Yeah, skillful in all wisdom. This is talking about who the king of Babylon, the brother got it there so y'all can read up here in the first chapter. But during the Babylonian captivity of the nation of Israel, the king of Babylon was taking certain of the children of Israel to sit in his house and work for him, basically. Okay, children of who were skillful in all wisdom of the children of Israel. All right, and these were Cushite, so-called Ethiopians that were ruling and had us in captivity during this period of time. Go ahead.
And cunning in knowledge.
Cunning in knowledge, read.
And understanding science.
And understanding science. So this lets us know what? That Hebrew Israelites understood and dealt with science, okay? Science on a level to where Cushites, who also practice high forms of science, which we see earlier in the Bible, and anybody who knows history can attest to the high sciences that the Cushite practiced, took and chose certain of these Israelites to come and sit in his house because of the high science that they was dealing with. Go ahead.
And such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace.
Understand in the king's palace, that were on a level to where they could sit here and deal with the king, right? Go ahead.
And whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans.
That's right. They wanted to teach these Hebrew Israelites the tongue and the language of the Chaldeans so they could then in turn take the scientific knowledge that they had and teach other Chaldeans or Ethiopian Cushites, okay? But they had to learn their language first. Just like you might have somebody from another country who somebody from Asia, let's say, who's good at math. They come here, they learn English, they can teach math to English kids. You see what I'm saying? Or people who speak English, American people, right? Go ahead. That's it?
Yeah.
Okay, give me this in the Apocrypha real quick. Was Solomon 17, or 7 rather, and I want you to read 17 to 21. It's a lot. This next verse I'm going to get is in the Apocrypha, and so it's not on the Blue Letter Bible. But if you would like to go to Bible Study Tools, they have it. But, that's just if you want to. Go ahead to that, though. Read 17 to 21.
Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter, verse 17. For he has given me certain knowledge
So the Lord had bestowed upon Solomon certain knowledge, read,
of things that are,
and things that are, right, of the ways of the world. Go ahead.
namely, to know how the world was made.
Namely, to know how the world was made. Now, how the world was made was through science, was through the combination of elements and things of that nature, right? Chain reactions. Go ahead.
And the operation of the elements.
And the operation of the elements. So Solomon got wisdom from the Lord in regards to the operation of the elements. Now, if the Hebrew Israelite culture was not a culture that dealt with science, how would he even know what the operation of elements was talking about? Let's say he didn't know how the elements operated. How would he even know that term if this culture wasn't dealing with science? Right?
The beginning, ending, and the midst of the times.
The beginning in the midst of the times, right? The whole world from creation to the end. Go ahead.
The alterations of the turning of the sun.
The alterations of the turning of the sun. So he understood the courses of the heavens, man. Okay, go ahead. Basically, astronomy. Let's not get it twisted with astrology. He understood astronomy. Okay.
That proves the heliocentric universe.
Which also proves the geocentric, the geocentric universe, which is in the scriptures, which we're gonna get into at a later time. You see what I'm saying? Like I said, I got lectures that I'm dealing with, going really in depth to the sciences in the scriptures, and it's clearly proven. You see what I'm saying? But go ahead.
And the change of seasons.
And how the seasons change. Read.
The circuits of years and the positions of stars.
The circuits of years and the position of stars. Again, we're dealing with more astronomy. Even the change in the seasons, we're dealing with astronomy, right? Go ahead.
The natures of living creatures.
The natures of living creatures. That's science. What is it? Zoology and things of that nature. These are all various forms of science that Solomon was learned in as a Hebrew Israelite. Go ahead.
And the furies of wild beasts, the violence of winds, and the reasonings of men, the diversities of...
Wait. The reasonings of men. So psychology. You see what I'm saying? So we just had astronomy, zoology, and psychology all clearly named for us, all high forms of sciences that this brother was learned in, and Hebrew Israelites in general was learned in on one degree or another. You see what I'm saying? Okay, well, just give me 1 second for my my reader. Go ahead.
And it says the furies, the reasonings of men, the diversities of plants.
The diversities of plants. So now we're dealing with botany. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
And the virtues of roots. And all such things as are either secret or manifest, them I know.
Exactly. So the Lord bestowed Solomon that information, and other certain brothers amongst Israel was bestowed with that information in them sciences. Again, we just have what name? Astronomy, zoology, psychology, botany. You see what I'm saying? Different forms of science. You see what I'm saying? And he was learning these things, as were other Hebrew Israelite men. Now give me 1 Timothy 6 and 20. We're going back to the new. We're going to the New Testament this time for 1 Timothy 6 and 20. So if you want to pull that up.
This is the book of 1 Timothy, chapter 6, verse 20. O Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust.
Keep that which is committed to thy trust, right? Read.
Avoiding profane and vain babblings.
Profane and vain babblings. What are an example of a profane and vain babbling? We're going to find out. Go ahead.
And oppositions of science, falsely so-called.
And oppositions of science, falsely so-called. Okay, because a lot of this science that a lot of guys in the conscious community and biblical gainsayers bring is science in which that is falsely so-called, and it turns into profane and vain babblings. Here's what I mean. The majority of the science that a lot of these guys present is all theoretical and all based upon assumptions. And in order for the theory to be true, the assumption in and of itself must also be true. And oftentimes there is no concrete evidence of that assumption being true. I'm going to give you an example. Shaka Atmos, right? He brags about the abstract concepts of Egypt in ancient Kemet. Oh, these are abstract concepts. This is an Egyptian concept. He says that, and a lot of people are totally missing what he's telling you. He is telling you that he's full of shit. And here's what, excuse me. I should, my bad, I know it's a family show. I shouldn't have said that word. My bad. But what he's telling you is that Egypt dealt with non-concrete, theoretical science. The term abstract means non-concrete. So when a concept is abstract, it is not concrete. It is theoretical, and it is based upon assumptions, and there is no concrete evidence to authenticate the premise. You understand what I'm saying? The thesis. And that's a lot of the science that these people bring to us that is anti-Bible. They'll come with radiocarbon dating. Then we debunk that. Now they're coming with radioisotopic dating. Don't worry, we got the information to debunk that. You understand what I'm saying? So in the Bible, again, it tells us to stay away from this science falsely so-called. But the Kemetic community puts their bottom dollar and all their faith in science is falsely so-called. But then they'll condemn us for putting our faith in the Bible. Okay, let's deal with this term belief real quick. Every chance I get to deal with the etymology of the word belief, I make sure to deal with it, because a lot of these guys in the conscious community will say, well, I don't believe anything, or I don't believe I know, not realizing how stupid you sound when you say you don't believe anything. The term belief etymologically means to extol something, okay? You extol one idea over another. So if somebody comes to you with a theoretical science, right, says, look, well, this is my theory, this is the hypothesis, and you accept that over a counter theory or hypothesis, no matter where it comes from, you are dealing with belief. You are not dealing with knowledge, okay? You do not have the 100% knowledge of that. You believe that, all right, whether you like it or not. And that's a pill that a lot of people in the so-called conscious community are going to have to swallow, that they'll deal with belief and having faith in something, but they have faith in hypothetical, theoretical science in which that is falsely so-called, and we have faith in the Most High God. And we have much reason to have faith in the Most High God. Okay, what I want to reference now is the book of Ecclesiastes in the Old Testament, also written by Solomon.
Hold on, my brother. Hold on, my brother, Guerrilla Hebrew. Wow! What? Oh, my days. Bang! Bang! Shots fired. Ah! Lord have mercy, Jesus Christ. Hamashiach. Oh, my days. My brother, Guerrilla Hebrew, is on fire. Sending out shots to the conscious community. Sending out shots to the Kemetic crew. Oh, my days. I can't believe what I'm hearing. I can't believe what I'm hearing. I need to be quiet. I need to be quiet. I'm just going to listen in and not say anything no more. Shots fired. That's what I'm going to say. Continue.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we got to put this on the table, man. You know, we got to put this on the table, and we got to clear out a lot of these misconceptions that people is coming with, because you're deceiving the people. And when you deceive the people and you're not being honest, it calls into question your character. Because I thought the goal of people in the conscious community was to uplift and assist in the liberation of our people. Now, if you are purposely and divisively deceiving our people, then what are you really trying to do? Are you really trying to uplift our people? Or are you really trying to hold fast onto the surrealism that you've been given? Because a lot of that Kemetic stuff is surrealism, okay? Now, not everybody in the Kemetic community deals with surrealism. Like, I'll give, you know, Jonathan is in the building, Amun-Ra Squad is in the building. The Amun-Ra Squad don't deal with too much surrealism. I'll give them that. They're dealing with different forms of science. But a lot of you guys in the conscious community are dealing entirely with surrealism, man, okay? Meaning it's not actually real, okay? You're living in basically an alternate reality with a lot of the stuff that comes out of your mouth. So you got to step away from that, because you're deceiving our people and you're not really dedicated to the upliftment of our people by doing that, all right? But what I want to do is I want to reference the book of Ecclesiastes, written in the Old Testament, okay? Ecclesiastes, rather. Yeah, thanks for the question. I don't need you to get no verse. But I suggest everybody out there, if you want to deal with science and you want to deal with the science that's in the scriptures, read the book of Ecclesiastes. I briefly mentioned this in my discourse with Polight and another discourse that I had on a live stream with Sarnetta and another brother. Observational science is the most primitive form of science, and we can all agree that that is how our ancestors, whether we agree that they're Israelites or they're Kemetic or they're from Africa somewhere, wherever we agree our ancestors come from, we can all understand that our ancestors dealt with observational science as science in its most primitive state and form, and as the best way to conduct experiments. And when you look at the book of Ecclesiastes, Solomon is given a lecture about the conclusion of a series of observational science experiments that he conducted. You understand what I'm saying? So that in and of itself shows science in its most primitive state there in the Bible. The book of Ecclesiastes is a great read. You understand what I'm saying? So I suggest that to everybody, just dealing with the lower forms of science up to the higher forms of science that are written here in the Bible, either blatantly or within the subtext. Okay, we got to understand these things. Another way the sciences, we can see a lower form of science in the scriptures through the subtext is in the Torah. When you're dealing with, which I mentioned this also in the discourse I recently had with Polight, when you're dealing with the sacrifices. The Lord commanded that a lamb to be sacrificed was to be a male lamb. Why did he command it to be a male lamb? Because men should not be ingesting too many female animals. Why? Because female animals have higher forms of estrogen, and that throws off our balance of testosterone and estrogen that we have as men within our bodies. So the Lord commanded us to do what? Eat the male lamb, so testosterone will be put into our body as opposed to estrogen. And a lot of these animals that people are eating nowadays are female animals, and that's why the estrogen levels are up, and that's why we're seeing such homosexual behavior, especially, well, not just amongst our community, but just in general. We're seeing a huge gay bomb that's being let off. Why? Because of the estrogen that's in these foods, because they're feeding us female foods a lot of the time, female animals. Okay. Now the Bible had cleared that up by doing what? Commanding that the sacrifice be a male. You understand what I'm saying? So that is even a lower form of science, just as observational sciences is. But going to, as we reference in Wisdom of Solomon, the 7th chapter, you also have those higher forms of sciences, whether it be astronomy, psychology, botany, zoology, and things of that nature. Physiology is also in the scriptures. You see what I'm saying? So we got to deal with all those things. As far as that form of science in the Bible, that's basically all I had on that particular talking point, brother.
Thank you for that. Wow. So the Bible, this is something that is new to me, in the sense that you're the first Hebrew Israelite I'm hearing talking about the science in the Bible. This is amazing information. Solomon, is learnt in all the sciences, even that the Cushites had, such as the different sciences such as zoology, botany, astronomy, psychology. Wow. Science, logic, full stop, to be able to observe things and deduce things. So this is very interesting to hear. And I hope our Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters out there don't just shun science and actually delve into science, because the science that you can delve into will actually enlighten you about the Bible itself. I see a brother out there that wants to be heard. I do not know what it is on the screen, so I will continue with the discourse. So thank you. All right. So you know what? There is a big talking point inside of the conscious community at the moment. Shaka Ahmos has proposed a certain thesis that the Bible is plagiarized from the ancient Kemetic text. So please let us know a bit more about that. Is the Bible original? Is the Bible authentic? Let us know.
Well, that's a great question. We talked about this a little bit last week with Carl. I'll reintroduce, my perspective on it. But, I mean, as we're seeing, when Sarnetta went to the Gathering of Christ Church, I believe it was brother Awunyasap and, the brother Gabar that's over there at the Gathering of Christ Church. They debunked that entire, premise and thesis point for point, basically rendering that book, that pamphlet that he has, as obsolete. But there's always some form of claim of, did the Bible plagiarize from Kemet? There's always a claim of that. I'm seeing the wiser people amongst the community stray away from that. For example, Polight. I was just to have my discourse with Polight. He didn't mention anything about plagiarization anywhere. You know why? He had that debate last year. The plagiarization claims were debunked. So he realizes he got to get off that. Anybody who was smart would get up off of that, because every time somebody comes with that, they lose, each and every time. Shaka Atmos claimed that eschatologically, that the Bible stole from ancient Kemet. We can find that nowhere in the Bible where you have anything similar to the eschatological system that Kemet has. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the eschatology that's dealing with beliefs of the afterlife and things like that, these are totally different concepts that we're dealing with, totally different perspectives. So again, these things, they keep coming up, and it's just not coming to pass. The Bible, we have laws, we have statute, commandments, we got history. These are historical things which not any one group of people could take a claim to history. If it happened in your region, then you could take claim to it and you could document it. You see what I'm saying? Which nobody's arguing that the history in Israel is plagiarized. But a key thing that about the Bible that sets the Bible apart is the prophecy that is in the Bible. Now, I want you to show me where the prophecies in the Bible are plagiarized on the walls of Kemet, in the pyramid text, in the coffin text, or anywhere else in the world, period. These prophecies are not plagiarized from anywhere. You can see them later being taken from the Bible and put elsewhere, but these prophecies that are within the Bible are not seen anywhere else. So in order for if the Bible in fact was plagiarized, don't you think we would have took the prophecies? Because the prophecies is what sets us apart. The only prophecy in ancient Egypt was the prophecy of Nefertiti, and that prophecy was written after it actually happened and was a propaganda piece of the Pharaoh at the time. So if we was going to take anything from Egypt, wouldn't it have been prophecy, or did we just make up prophecy? You see what I'm saying? We didn't take anything from ancient Egypt in the sense of our laws, statutes, commandments. We actually learned what not to do based off the ways of the ancient Egyptians. And the key point of our scriptures, which is the prophecies, were definitely not taken from the ancient Egyptians. So when y'all people keep coming up with this theory that we plagiarized something from ancient Egypt, oh yeah, and that's a beautiful picture that the brother Melchizedek has on the screen, and how the DNA code is the tetragrammaton, what will be referred to as the tetragrammaton, which is the YHWH, or the name of Yahweh, the name of the God of Israel. That's in your DNA. And also you have hexagonal, or what someone will call the star or shield of David, which is really just symbolic of the bud of the pomegranate, which has 613 seeds, symbolizing the law of the Torah. Okay, but that all is also within your DNA. So you're dealing with science from the lowest frequency to the highest frequency that's in the Bible, and I'm glad that he showed that picture. But again, the whole idea that we plagiarized something from ancient Egypt, man, where are we getting these prophecies from? Show me these prophecies on the wall. If Egypt was such a high society, which I ain't gonna lie, Egypt was a high society. They dealt with high forms of science and mathematics and things of that nature. But one thing they didn't have was prophecy. And the prophecies of the Bible are what sets the Bible apart from every other book or ancient scroll or thing to follow, outside of also the laws, but the prophecies as well. Because we can read these prophecies and we can see these prophecies come to pass before our eyes. You can read the prophecies, which Lord willing, in a second, we're going to go into Daniel the 7th chapter, and I'm going to show you Daniel the 7th chapter, and all you got to do is look outside your damn house, and you can see that Daniel the 7th chapter has came to pass. And when was it written? A couple thousand years before it actually occurred. So we got to deal with these things. You see what I'm saying? What prophecies the brother asked? That's a good question. We go. Matter of fact, we might as well get into it. Give me Daniel the 7th chapter. Give me Daniel the 7th chapter, and skip to the 4th beast.
I mean, shit. Deuteronomy 28.
Well, yeah, they hear that, but you know what happens is guys get simple with Deuteronomy 28. So it's okay. We got whatever y'all got, however y'all want it. We can serve it to you because the Most High God, through the Spirit and power of the Most High God, through His only begotten Son, we have a counterpunch for whatever. You see what I'm saying? Because the Bible, it is just that good. All right, face it. Okay, but go ahead, give me that the 4th beast.
All right, this is Daniel chapter 7. I'm gonna start at verse 7. After this I saw in the night's vision, and behold, a 4th beast.
A 4th beast. Now understand, there was 3 beasts prior to this 4th beast. The first beast was talking about the Babylonian Empire. Okay, the second beast was dealing with the Medo-Persian Empire, and the third beast was dealing with the Greek Empire. Y'all can read that for yourself. I want to skip to this 4th beast, which is a reference to the Roman Empire. And listen to the in-depth description that it gives of the Roman Empire and the offsprings of the Roman Empire, which are the European and American powers that we see to this day. Right, go ahead.
The 4th beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly.
Dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly. The havoc and the turmoil and the terror reaped by the Romans in particular on indigenous peoples all over the world, which includes Christopher Columbus and every cracker that came to America and killed the indigenous people of America and came to West Africa and took us into slavery, which includes them, okay? Dreadful and terrible, unlike any other nation of people or empire of people on the face of the planet Earth. Cruel ass people. I'm about to curse again. My apologies. Go ahead.
And it had great iron teeth.
Uh-huh.
It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it.
That's right. It devoured and broke in pieces the people. And that's clearly what the Roman Empire did. Now read.
And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it.
And it was diverse from all the beasts that was before it. Because the Roman Empire was unique from that of the Greek, that of the Medo-Persian, and that of the Babylonian. Go ahead.
And it had 10 horns.
And it had 10 horns. The 10 horns are symbolic of what we now know as the 10 European common markets. Okay, when you're dealing with the economical structure of the EU, right? Go ahead.
I considered the horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn.
There came up another little horn. Something sprang out of this fourth beast. Something sprang out of this Roman European Empire. You know who that was? That was the United States of America. And we're going to prove it, right, Ray?
Before whom there were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots.
That's right. There were 3 of the first horns plucked up by the roots. What does that mean? Now, when we deal with America and how America was established, right, you had the English, you had the French, and you had the Spanish that all had colonized what we know as the United States of America during different periods of time. But this new horn arose and plucked up at the roots or defeated and ran off the French, the Spanish, and the English. You understand what I'm saying? The 3 horns. Right, go ahead.
It says, and behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things.
And a mouth speaking great things. America speaks the greatest things out of all the empires of the face of the planet Earth. We're going to go to the moon. We're going to drop atomic bombs. We're going to do whatever the hell we want to. If you don't listen to us, we're going to sanction you. This mouth that spoke great things.
We're going to fly a plane.
Yeah, we're going to fly a plane. This is where the plane was invented. The land of the free, the home of the brave. You see what I'm saying? The leader of the free world. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit.
Is that it on that?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's it on that. But as we see on that level, we're looking at the Roman Empire and the offspring of the Roman Empire, which is the EU and NATO, and the system that we're currently living in today, clearly outlined the biblical prophecy prophesied by the prophet Daniel during the time of the Babylonian captivity. Now, this was around 700-800 BC. Okay, so what is that? 4,800 years ago? If I'm not, no, not 48, 2,800 years ago. Salakia. About 2,800 years ago, this rulership that we currently live in today was prophesied about. Are you telling me there's coincidence that it didn't say that one horn would spring forth after defeating the 3 horns, and America sprung forth after defeating and running off the English, Spanish, and French? We got to deal with these things. You can't just cross all these things off as mere coincidence when they clearly are outlining historical events prior to them actually occurring. You see what I'm saying? Go ahead.
From Second Esdras, the 11th, 12th chapter. When it's
on the season. In Second Esdras, the 11th and 12th chapter speaks on the eagle with the 12 feathers, which speaks on an actual outline of Caesar upon Caesar that rolls out of Rome. It had the 12 feathers and the 8 contrary feathers, which is another deep topic. But basically, what it boils down to is we see prophetically outlined history written before it occurs to a T in detail in the Bible. You don't see this elsewhere, and especially not on the magnitude in which it is in the Bible, where you could go page after page after page after page and find these things. You see what I'm saying? Which authenticates the Bible's divine inspiration and authenticity and originality. You understand what I'm saying? Let me see here real quick.
Okay. Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, could you tell us a bit more about the secret relationship between the Israelites and the Hamitic people? Or is there a relationship between those two peoples?
Now, there's definitely a relationship. Now, I'm going to show you. Give me Ezekiel 5 and 12 real quick. I'm going to show. We're going to get into that a little bit. Go to Ezekiel 5 and 12. Because there is a relationship between Hamites and Israelites. Okay? Our land came by the conquest of the land of Canaan. Canaanites are Hamitic people. So yes, there is a relationship, and we took Hamitic wives. You can read about this in Genesis, Moses with the Ethiopians. So there's definitely a relationship. Okay, go ahead.
It's the third part.
Yeah, with 12, yeah.
All right. The book of Ezekiel, chapter 5, verse 12. A third part of thee shall die with the pestilence, and with famine shall they be consumed in the midst of thee.
Right, so this is talking about the Lord putting a judgment upon the nation of Israel as a punishment for iniquity, right, Reed?
And the third part shall fall by the sword round about thee, and I will scatter a third part into all the winds, and I will draw out a sword after them.
So it said that a third part of the nation of Israel would be scattered throughout the wind. Now, during the when we deal with the conquest that the Romans did, 70 AD and beyond of Israel, you had massive amounts of Israelites fleeing out of Israel. The primary place these Israelites went was to Africa. Okay, you had affluent Israelite communities that were already previously established in ancient Egypt and other places in Africa. Okay, the brother Melchizedek that's on always brings out a piece of history called the Elephantine Papyrus, which talks about a Hebrew Israelite community that was established on the island of Elephantine there in Egypt. You also can read about it in the Bible in the book of 1 Chronicles, where it speaks about a colony of Israelites that were existing in Egypt. David references them. Okay, the oldest synagogue in the world, contrary to popular belief, is not in Greece, but is actually just outside of Alexandria. Okay, so there were already communities of Israelites that were in Egypt and elsewhere in Africa. So that was a predominant place that the Israelites were fleeing. Okay, so when it says that we were scattered to the winds, the primary place the wind scattered us was into Africa. Then it said, what a sword shall be sent after us. Give me that in Psalm 17 and 13. Let's take a look at what this sword is.
The book of Psalms, chapter 7, verse 13. He hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained his arrows against
what is that?
Psalm 7 and 13?
17 to 13, I need it.
The book of Psalms, chapter 17, verse 13. Arise, O Lord, disappoint him, cast him down, deliver my soul from the wicked, which is thy sword.
So the Lord is telling us here that the wicked is his sword. Now give me Job 9 and 24. Let's see who the wicked is, because remember, it said that he was going to drive us into the winds and that the sword would be drawn out after us. Okay, now it says that the wicked is the sword. So let's see who the wicked is so we can better understand who the sword was that the Lord had drew out after us as a punishment for iniquity. Go ahead.
Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked.
The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. Now, we all know that the so-called white man is the most empowered race on the planet Earth right now. So when it says the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, it is letting us know that the white man would be ruling here in these last days. Go ahead.
He covereth the faces of the judges thereof.
He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. Why? Because he goes and paints everything and everyone white. Chiefly, who the world ignorantly calls Christ, real name Yahweh Shai, he painted as white. But it's not limited to Christ. He went throughout the Renaissance time and painted black images, which were plastered all over Europe, which the brother Kalam had already mentioned. When he went to Rome, he saw the patriarchs of the Bible depicted as black men. But in general, we don't see that. Why? Because of iconoclasm, the so-called white man has went and covered the faces of the judges that are written here in this book. Okay? Letting us know and clearly indicating him and identifying him as the wicked that the Bible speaks of. Read.
If not, where and who is he?
If the white man ain't the wicked, where and who is the wicked? You see what I'm saying? So it lets us know that after we were scattered, right, after we were scattered through the wind, that a sword would be drawn out after us. So we were driven into Africa. Later, the white man would come into Africa, take us into slavery, and bring us over here to the Americas. Okay? So that's all, again, a part of prophecy, and it's all letting us know the relationship that we had with the so-called Hamitic or African people, because we would often resort to going into Africa and mingling amongst them. You see what I'm saying? We were still a distinct and a different people from them, but we did have common things with them. Because there's a video I have on my channel, which is Sakari Sit Downs or Sakari 1715. It's called Ancient Gentrification. Okay, we have to deal with ancient gentrification and how Arabs and white people gentrified the Middle East and North and East Africa and drove the indigenous, so-called more black or melanated inhabitants into further interiors of Africa. That's a piece of history that also has to be dealt with. So as we got pushed out of our land of Israel, other more melanated people or Hamitic people were also getting pushed. That's why when you go to Egypt, you see Arabs there. You go to Libya, you see Arabs there. You see what I'm saying? You go to Tunisia, regions like that, you see Arabs there. Were Arabs the original inhabitants of those places? No, they weren't. Okay, but they are currently the inhabitants of those places through an ancient form of gentrification where the Arabs went and conquested these lands. Just like now you have Arabs that call themselves Palestinians. Those aren't actual Palestinians. The Philistines in the Bible are Hamitic people. Big, tall, so-called African giants, Watusis, Manute Bo-looking individuals. You understand what I'm saying? Why are now little Arabs calling themselves Philistines? Because it's all a part of an ancient gentrification. The white man is not unique to the fact that he also stole and assumed identities of other people, of black people, whether it be Israelite or Hamitic. The Arab has also done the same thing. So these are all different aspects of history that we got to understand. And
the Arabs were black until the Greeks.
And the Arabs were also originally black, which the brother touched on. But what we have is when the white man comes conquesting, he mingles and mingles and mingles and begins to alter the hues of people. You see what I'm saying? But the point is that one of the relationships that Israelites have with Hamitic people is the plight due to conquest and oppression of paler races. Okay, that's definitely something that we have in common, and we were living in similar geographical regions and locations while undergoing this oppression. You see what I'm saying?
Thank you, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, for that information. On that note, I'd actually like to bring things to a close in a sense, to actually have a little quick break. You left off a brilliant spot for us to have a break on. Audience out there, I'm actually going to play a video called Northeast Africa, The Hidden Truth, documentary by our brother Stephen Graham. It's a short trailer, so if you're listening in, please let me know if you can see the screen. And I guess it's not playing as of yet, but we will try to make it play. Give us a second. So, I'm going to ask our brothers out there, especially Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, let me know if you can see my screen. I'm playing the video in literally 5 seconds. Okay. So, let me know. Can you see the screen?
So in your eyes, this land, the Holy Land, what they call Israel, Palestine, this is Africa.
Africa. You've done a great job in being able to...
You got to click on your box.
This is Northeast Africa. And once we begin to look at it as such, and we stop believing that
this is, so in your eyes, this land, the Holy Land, what they call Israel, Palestine, this is Africa.
Africa. You've done a great job in being able to demonstrate that this is Northeast Africa. And once we begin to look at it as such, and we stop believing this idea of Israel being a part of the Middle East.
Go over here, and I'm going to show you where Israel sits on the African tectonic plate, which means that Israel is Northeast Africa.
What do you mean Middle East? Is there an Upper East, a Lower East? What do you mean Middle East?
For most of the blacks, they have a confusion about Israel. This is your home. This is your land.
But you know, the government before the Turkish people come here, they control this land for 400 years, and they left, and we stay in the desert. Then the English, the government of English people, they come here, maybe control some for a little time, and they left, and we stay here, and now it's the Israeli, and we stay here, and we continue to stay in this land.
from Africa. He's from Africa. Saba, and Haitian, the 10 generations here.
The black people here in this land, it's not for the last 100 years or something like this. It's more than 1,000 of years.
We are deeply rooted in this country.
They are talking about generations and generations.
The evidence is hands down. It's not even something that we engage in a debate on about the dark-skinned nature of the peoples that lived in these regions in antiquity.
They're not originally. They know that we are the original people here.
The reality is that we tend to look at this land based on what we've seen in contemporary times. And what do we see? We see fair-skinned Israelis, and we see fair-skinned Arabs.
ישראל הייתה פלסטין, הייתה לפני הטורקים, before the Palestinians, before the Turkish Empire.
I have a book called The Arabs. I believe the author's name was Bertrand Thomas. On page 339, he says the original inhabitants of Arabia were not the more familiar Arabs of our own time, but a very much darker people.
You see this people in the mosque? I say, you see this people in the mosque? They don't want the black in the mosque to become the imam, the first man who did this. Then he start to say Hassan al-Basri this. His education from the black people. So don't say. They say what? They say yeah. You have to become to become the leader. He say Hassan al-Basri. You have to start the imam and don't say Hassan al-Basri. He say my cousin Hassan al-Basri, my brother Hassan al-Basri.
You can say we began when Islam came to Palestine, but I'm quite sure we are even before and before and before.
You look at the name of Palestine, it was the name that the Romans gave to the land formerly known as Judea.
Another thing about that is that at the Last Supper, if you remember, Yeshua and the disciples were sitting around the table, and they had glassware on the table. They were not drinking out of glass.
I just watched the TV one time. I see a movie on the TV. I see this is Zayd al-Halal. I see they put it in the TV, it's white. But everybody know, even the white, they know this Zayd al-Halal is a black.
If you take the map of the whole city, you never find African quarter. You will find Christian quarter, Armenian, Jewish, Muslim quarter, but never the African quarter.
National TV about Palestinian suffering. Did you ever see a black brother? But we suffer the same.
People from our people. They regard Jesus to be black, Moses, Muhammad, Abraham.
Okay, that was the. Okay, we here? All right. That was the trailer for Northeast Africa, The Hidden Truth, by our brother Stephen Graham. So if you're a Hebrew Israelite listening in, you know, this is a powerful documentary for you to have in your arsenal, for you to have in your possession, to prove your heritage. Okay. So now I'm actually going to open it up. We've reached that, you know, segment of the show where we're going to open it up now to the audience. We're going to open up to the panelists to actually give commentary upon our brother, our Titan, brother Guerrilla Hebrew. Let us know your thoughts upon what he said and based upon his information. Later on in the show, we have a third section in the show where if you don't agree with what he says, okay, anything he says, we're going to have rounds of miniature style debates. So we're going to hold off that section for the latter part of the show. So right now, please, we're inviting any comments and questions to our brother Guerrilla Hebrew. So the panel is open. Just unmute your mic and speak. So,
please.
Brother Panahisi, the floor is yours.
I just put I put an excerpt in the group chat box. Now, okay. This excerpt is from a scientist who archaeologists dug up the city of Lachish, which is in Judea, ancient Judea. We all know that this city was sacked by the Assyrians. They found a mass grave with over 1,000-something different skulls and bones and different bone fragments. They had 685 of these skulls sent to Great Britain to get analyzed. When they came back, they said these skulls are more in relation to Northern Africa, Upper Egypt, and Nubia. It was in this mass grave from the period. It was in a mass grave from the period of this Assyrian attack. So that's proof positive. You can't. There's no getting around that.
Okay, thank you. Yes, you posted up. I'm actually going to try to post it up right now into our YouTube, our chat. So it's being posted right. Ooh, it cannot be posted. It's got too many characters. So I'm sorry for everybody out there in YouTube land that you cannot see what our brother Panahisi has to say on the matter. So I'm inviting questions and commentary from our panelists. Brother Jigs, I see that your mic is on. Please.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, first of all, brother, that was a great presentation. Appreciate all you brought to the table, and in talking about this important topic. I think the first thing that came to my mind after everybody discussed the idea of being African and Hebrew Israelite is that we must understand that the white man confused all of us. We're taking the term Africa, which is the term of a continent which they made up. They put draws and boundaries in a certain area, called it a continent, which is an idea that we've never had in our history. And then from their term of what they mentioned as a landmass and a continent, the boundaries that they gave, then we say that we are Africans, i.e. we come from a region that has these particular boundaries. And then we have a people calling themselves Hebrews, which is a tribe. So we have 3 different classifications that we're all trying to put under one umbrella. It's the key thing is that Hamites and Shemites were both in Africa at a certain point in time and out of Africa at a certain point in time. So if something is called the land of Ham, we know that that's not the white man's Africa. The white man's Africa doesn't include all the land of Ham. So we're confused with all of these terms. We're trying to say words like African, which is making it confusing. Instead of calling ourselves what we said on the show, our first show was about this. We said on the show, let's just call ourselves original man, because that's what we all are. That's who we all represent. We all represent the original man who came out of what we now know as Africa. But these arguments and debates become confusing because we're using context from languages that we didn't create, ideas that we didn't create, boundaries that we didn't create, and then try to impose that on us as if it's our fault that Africa and Africans is a confusing term. That's white people stuff. So, we have to be fair to all of these brothers and sisters who are coming out with this information and understand that all of these religions, these books, these philosophies originate with us, the original man, whatever the hell you want to call it. But again, I appreciate what the brother brought to the table. Definitely learned something, and continue.
Excellent. So if you're listening in out there, please, we are inviting your commentary. We're inviting your questions. This show is being birthed out of the idea that we can have an interface going on. We can now bring forward the Titans that you hear on the radio stations, the Titans that you hear on the YouTube videos, and we're now bringing them, we're interfacing them with you, the audience, having real-time live streaming where you can ask these brothers any questions you like. You can give them any comments you like. You can join in the panel at any time you like, as long as there is space. So if you just go onto Facebook, Kalam SPL, and you can click on the link there to join in this discussion. You can go into the Amon Ra squad and you can click the link to go live to speak to us right now. Okay, so if you want to speak to us, please just get in contact with us on YouTube, hashtag Talk with the Titans, or simply subscribe to my channel, Kalam L. All right. Before I actually forget, next week Wednesday.
Hello? Hello?
Could somebody please mute their mics? We'll be opening up for questions and commentary in a hot second. But yes, next week Wednesday we have the brother. We have a special guest coming in. Furthermore, where is Polight? Where's Polight, brother? Guerrilla Hebrew. Where's Polight? Polight should be here right now, trying to, get it in at the moment. Like, why isn't he joining into the discussion? That's what I want to know. Maybe we can get him in the future. If he's unable to get into the show right now, we'll have him in the future. But next week we have brother Divine Prospect. Divine Prospect. He was featured on Sarnet TV and House of Consciousness. Brother Divine Prospect. Wow, that is a powerful brother right there. The way he's able to merge the scriptures together with the science, the languages. I swear this guy is, I don't know how many different languages he can speak, but I know he's got the Meduniter down on lock, he's got the Hebrew on lock, he's got the Greek on lock, and I'm pretty sure he's got the Arabic down on lock. This is a brother that you do not want to miss. If you want to learn about the principle of Tawheed or Tawheedo, to unify us as the people, to bring us all together under one banner, I'm pretty sure this brother is the forerunner. This brother is the one in the future to come to bring us all together underneath one banner. I personally believe that in my heart, and I believe this brother will blow your mind. So stay tuned next week, Wednesday, 6 p.m. EST. Or 11 p.m. GMT if you're in the UK or Europe. Stay tuned. This brother will blow your mind. Okay, I'm going to open it up now. I know brother Anka kept the real black atheist was trying to get in. Tell him, if you're out there, just tell him to call back in and we'll open up his line to speak. Brother Asar, I'm Hotep. I'm going to invite any questions or commentary from you. I believe real black atheist back from Easter. If you have any questions or commentary, we're going to open it out for you. But please respect the cipher. Bear in mind, we're going to have miniature style debates at the end of the show, where you can actually object to what he's saying, ask him a question, object to what he's saying, and go a little back and forth. So, any brothers out there, what is your questions? Comment. Brother Real Black Atheist, the mic is
Hello? What's up? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. This is Brother Real Black Atheist.
Since it seems to be, can you hear me, right?
Yes.
Hey, since it seemed to be a good old...
I'm sorry, Brother Real Black Atheist.
Right. Here's a question for any person that considers themselves a Hebrew. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Does the Bible have science in it?
Brother, I think you've only signing in right now.
Yes or no?
Just signing in right now. The brother has gone through that to show the different places where the Bible has science in it. I'm going to let the brother Guerrilla Hebrew answer your question. So for anybody else that didn't get the answer to this question prior,
I ain't finished. Hold on, dude. It's just a hold on. It's just a yes or no answer.
We're gonna let Brother Guerrilla Hebrew answer the question for you.
You know the answer is yes.
Okay, his mic is muted for you, so please can you elaborate on that?
You know, it's various forms. Well, like I said earlier, for everybody who's seen it, you got botany in the scriptures, you got zoology in the scriptures, you got astronomy in the scriptures, you got psychology in the scriptures. Like this brother showing, a DNA code is written in the Tetragrammaton, okay? But I've had these conversations with Ankh before, and I think I know what he's going to say now that I say, yes, it is science in the Bible.
Okay, thank you. As I said, we're going to invite the debates. Literally, we're closing up this section where our audience can discuss and ask any question. So literally in about 5 to 10 minutes time, we're going to open up for miniature debate style, miniature debates. So, brother, we can have the back
Hey,
and forth
Kalam.
a little bit later on.
Yeah.
Right now, we're just opening up for commentary and questions. So I'm going to open up the mic for Brother Easter. If you're not speaking right now, can you please mute your mics?
Hold on. What'd you say, Kalam?
Salam, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Salaam alaikum, brother.
Welcome, salam, bro. I'm not sure if, because the brother spoke on several topics, so I just wanted to know, with the various contradictions throughout the Bible, why would he suggest that being something, or presenting that to be something that would help liberate our people or be the solution to our people's problems?
I have to just pause you right there. We're trying to keep it based upon the presentation he has delivered today. We can have that, the debate style questions at the latter part of the show. Could you please give us a commentary or question based upon what the brother has presented today?
Okay. In relation to what you said about science, it sounds like somebody is writing about someone else's science. So they're saying as though they visited somewhere and they said, this is what they've got. But you haven't shown where there's actual science in the Bible. So for instance, you've given like the heading and the contents page, but you haven't actually gone into anything that we can say is scientific in the Bible itself, from what I've heard anyway.
Well,
Can you please address that?
I mentioned the book of Ecclesiastes, and I said to read the book of Ecclesiastes, and I said that I'm giving you a surface introduction to lectures in which that I am currently putting together so I could give them to the community. So did I go into, like I said, the in-depth subtext and things like that of science in the Bible? No, but I did reference Ecclesiastes in reference to observational science. Also, I referenced the fact that males were told to eat male animals as opposed to female animals, in reference to the scientific reasoning for that, and not having your estrogen and testosterone levels out of balance. So I gave a brief surface answer about sciences in the Bible, and basically just to introduce you to things that I will be discussing more in depth at a later date.
Okay, thank you, brother Guerrilla Hebrew. Our brother Guerrilla Hebrew, the Titan. I can officially say he is the Titan. He's just gone up against the whole panel asking him questions. He's just gone through the whole scriptures, showing us where there is the mention of the science within inside of the Bible. He has enlightened us on the Hebrew Israelite position that, in fact, Africans or Hebrew Israelites are Africans. They're just not Hamitic people, different cultures, obviously. Okay, so our brother has gone through a array of information. He's gone through information, refuting or even possibly, showing where Brother Shaka Atmos has been debunked. He has talked about, there's the last thing I'm going to ask you, please, brother, for this moment in time. Let us know, how was it being in the lion's den? I know you are the lion itself, but how was it being in the lion's den with the hunter, with the captivating speaker, the young phenom, Brother Polight? How was it?
It was cool. I went in with the mindset of brothers just discussing and building. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to the hostile ways a brother could go into dealing with another brother. So we just played it like that. So I wasn't really coming extra guerrilla with them as I would with other individuals, because we came, the way it came together, it was cool. So Anetta, told me he was out here and he wanted us to get together. So we did it. Boom. It was cool. Now there were some points where it got heated and debates took place, but it was really about mostly brothers meeting on a common ground as far as him understanding our paradigm and us understanding his paradigm in a more thorough fashion. You see what I'm saying? Clearing up misconceptions and dealing on more of a practical level. So it was cool. It was real respectful. His family was there and all that. So it was cool. I had some brothers with me, and it was just it was just a cool equating experience as far as that goes. And we had a real good build, like it says on the trailer. It was 4.5 hours. We were sitting up there. We could have went all night, man, but I had to get back home. Like I said, I live in San Diego. I had to go to LA. That's about 2.5 hour drive. So we did that, but it was definitely cool.
Okay. Wow. There's one thing I must say about our brother Guerrilla Hebrew. He is the most respectful person, one of the most respectful persons I've actually had the pleasure to actually speak with. Real humble brother, real if he doesn't know something, he won't just be on that ignorance flex. He will say, you know what, I'm going to go back and research that information and come powerful, come strong. And this is proven because I have not heard any Hebrew Israelites out there speak quite like the way this brother is speaking to us today. That is including brother Shah. Shah is a powerful Hebrew Israelite. Brother Tazaria, brother Nazi, they're all great brothers. But this brother, you have to look out for him in the future. I can see big things taking place for this brother. You know what I'm going to say right now? So we're going to open it up. We've reached the third section of the show. The third section that we don't normally air online. We usually keep it secluded. We usually keep it only for the brothers and sisters that are in the chat room. There's only 10 spaces that can actually fit in the chat room. I can see that there is... Well, I'm looking at the count right now. The count just keeps on going up and up and up. Every single show... The audience is growing. I love you out there for that. Make this grow. The reason why I'm saying make this grow, because I would love to have the brothers from America fly out to the UK, okay? Fly out to the UK to do lectures, to do workshops, to do presentations, to feature in debates, to tour all up across the country. We have a thriving conscious community out here. There is Hebrew Israelites. All you have to type up is Hebrew Israelites UK, GMS UK. They're out here. They're out in Brixton, okay? If you're not in Bricky, South London, stand up. We see you out there. You're strong. You're out in London, Regent Street, Regent's Park, out there strong. Hyde Park, out there strong. Midlands, Manchester, Birmingham, out there strong. So if you're listening in, or if you know these brothers, please, direct them to this show. Let them know what's going on, and hopefully we can bring over some of these Hebrew Israelites to the UK and tour all up across the country. We can make this happen. Trust me. Okay, we can get people from France, because I see we got French people listening in. We have people from Sweden, people from Germany, people from the Netherlands, people from Australia even listening in. So if we can make this happen, we can get the committed conscious community over. We can get the brothers like Asar Imhotep over to the UK, over to France. Okay, we can get the brothers, the Muslims out there, over to the UK, or vice versa. Invite us over to the US. We can make this happen. Okay, so now, hashtag Talk with the Titans. Okay, hashtag Talk with the Titans. Subscribe to the show on the Kalam L YouTube station, or just hashtag Talk with the Titans. Google search hashtag Talk with the Titans. YouTube hashtag Talk with the Titans. Facebook, we have healthy debates, discourses going on constantly. You see me, I'm posting up hashtag Talk with the Titans. Let's do this. Okay, so now we've reached the latter part of the show that we don't usually air online. You're in for a treat. We're going to have debates taking place. I can see that everybody's ready. Everybody just wants to tear into our brother Guerrilla Hebrew. So I'm going to set the rules. Okay? So we're going to have this debate. You have a chance, panelists, you have a chance to ask our brother Guerrilla Hebrew a question of your choice. Okay? He has 3 minutes to respond, or a maximum 3 minutes to answer that question. Okay, then we're going to bring it back to you to comment upon what he said, whether you agree with it or not, or object and refute his argument. And he then has another chance to respond to that. Then I will just conclude that, and then we move on to the next panelist. So please respect the cipher. The same rules apply. Please don't butt into anybody's space, and keep your mics muted. So I'm going to open it up to the first person that wants to get involved with this debate style format. So, brother Asar Imhotep, I know you are a very vocal brother. I know you've come from being a Hebrew Israelite in the past, so I would really love to hear what you have to say in this matter.
Peace and blessings. Can you hear me?
Peace and blessings. We can hear you.
Okay. As you said, I'm a former Hebrew Israelite. I came out of the camp of the ICUPK. Back then it was called the ICUPK, Israeli Church of Universal Practical Knowledge, in the early 90s. And so I'm very familiar, regardless of the camps, of the fundamental doctrine of the Hebrews. And so he hit on a number of different topics and issues, and so I don't think, given my time, I'll be able to address everything. But I wanted to ask more so on the question of, at least my first question, on this concept of science. And we got to understand that the Hebrews come out of a pastoralist tradition. Until they came out of Egypt, they were nomadic pastoralists. They do not come from a long tradition of doing science. And so science comes about as a result of having the time which agriculture allows you to do in terms of your society, to allow a segment of the society to focus on scientific matters. And that is something that you don't find in nomadic pastoralist societies. And so when they come out of Egypt and they're living amongst, even, interacting with all of these other nations, then you start to see them pick up on these, I hate to say the term civilization, because for me, civilization just means rules that a community has, that that they have in order to be civil towards one another. So I don't equate civilization with buildings or high math, or however you determine that. But these sciences and these concepts coming out of these urban societies, the Hebrew people picked up, and we can tell by the loan word in somebody's mic on. I hear a background. The sciences and things they picked up, but one of the things I don't get, like when you go to Egypt and you have scientific books, you actually have workbooks of, for instance, math problems that the people had to learn in order to be a part of a certain school. You have medical books and treaties and things of this nature. Where is all of that discussion in the Bible? I know for a fact you don't find these things to where they're giving formulas, where they're giving, specific treatments for certain ailments. How do you detect that this particular ailment, and what is the cause for this ailment, and how do you treat it in terms of medicine, in terms of astronomy, how they calculate this and this and this? That stuff you don't find in the Bible. All I got from him on this particular, and to his credit, he said it was a surface, introduction. But based on that surface introduction, it just seems like the text is saying that we address, or we are now into this, but it doesn't provide you any kind of semblance of just how deep they were into the sciences, so-called. And so that's one aspect of it. And then we got to understand that science just isn't an issue of looking at something and then saying, okay, that's what it is. That's not how science works. That's not how science worked in ancient Egypt. Science deals with methodology. When science is a method, a series of methods and steps in order to get to the truth of a question of reality itself. In ancient Egypt, they had a phrase called tep hesed. Tep hesed means correct method. That's the scientific methodology that the ancient Egyptians had.
Sorry, brother, I'm Hotep. I have to just hurry you up because we are running out of time. So I'm going to ask you just to please phrase the question to him. If you could please unmute your mic, phrase the question to him so he can answer it, because we're literally we're at 1 hour 45 minutes into the show, and we're not trying to go too much over 2 hours. So please unmute your mic and phrase the question.
All of that to say, what is the Hebrew terms for methodology, and what was the methods used in order to avoid error in their analysis in order to consider it to be science?
Okay, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew. This is touching back onto the science of the Bible. Could you expound upon the question presented?
Well, as I already have previously spoke about, we have to deal with the most primitive form of science, which is observational science. And through observation, we can understand and grasp methodology. And to something that he was saying, basically, when he goes in the Bible, he's not seeing, basically what he said, he's not seeing the in-depth, things of that nature, as we heard what he said. Like I said, in dealing when I first introduced the whole concept of science in the Bible, a lot of it is written in the subtext, okay? And then the scriptures speak about people who had knowledge of astronomy who were amongst the tribes of Israel, people who had knowledge of people who were physicians amongst Israel. So all of that and all of the in-depthness of the science and the understanding of the science may not make it to the Bible, but subtextually we can see within the Bible, especially within the laws of the Bible, that this knowledge was there. Or else, why would these laws be designed? You see what I'm saying? We have to ask ourselves why we are told, "Thou shalt not do this, 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 and that," when we could all go into science and scientifically understand how detrimental that could be to an individual or to a greater society. You understand what I'm saying? So, like I said, a lot of it is written within the subtext. And another form of methodology we have to understand about the Bible is algorithms. The first thing you have to understand about the Bible is that the Bible itself is written in algorithm, okay? When you're dealing with an algorithm, you're dealing with the greatest common divisor. That's why in the New Testament it says, rightly dividing the word of truth. You have to deal with the algorithms of the Bible in order to understand the subtext of the Bible in a lot of different ways. So again, a lot of it is subtextually written in the Bible, and which basically leads us to understanding of these sciences was there, which is why it made it to the Bible. You see what I'm saying? But like the brother said, this is just basically a surface. It goes really deep. I got a lecture coming up called "The Science of Idolatry," which should be through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Shemi outside. That's it on that.
Thank you.
Hey, let me expound on something real quick. Can I expound on something?
Brother Laron, I'm sorry, you have to wait. Okay. Brother Asar Imhotep, you've heard our brother's response. Do you have anything to respond to that, basically?
Testing. Okay. So basically what he's reaffirmed is that the book itself doesn't deal with science. It just mentions that the Hebrew Israelites dealt with science. And so in order for us to get the so-called scientific context, we're supposed to read between the lines of certain texts. And to me, that's not science. And so, mentioning that you have a science or that you deal with science, and then the Bible itself being a book of science, those are totally two different things. And I think we need to make sure that we don't confuse the two. And so Egypt has books of science. Religious. It might be, intermingled in sometime, but they have specific books for science. We don't see that in terms of like chapters or something like that in the biblical text, where it's dedicated to the analysis and explaining the scientific phenomena. And so I think we need to be clear when it comes to that.
Excellent. So, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, you have a chance to actually respond to what he has just said. So,
now again, in the book of Ecclesiastes, we can see that what he just said, talking about the scientific process and you know, the basically explaining how certain experiments were conducted from the observational sense. Now, as far as it's not just saying it's science. When I'm talking about the subtext, I'm talking about laws, statutes, and commandments and principles that are instilled within the Hebraic culture, in which that are scientifically verified, and one can only come to the conclusion that that is beneficial to the understanding of science. And we can't say we got it from anybody else because they were very unique, especially from the science in which that was found in ancient Egypt. You see what I'm saying? Now, dealing with astronomy, we know we have Abraham, which came from Ur the Chaldees, the Cushites, which dealt heavily with what? Astronomy. So there's different elements of the what am I saying here? There's different elements of science in the scriptures. Either it references us knowing the science, or it subtextually shows us that we came to the conclusion through a scientific experiment, or it actually gives scientific method in some places. You see what I'm saying? Or is the Bible a book? Is a Bible a biology 101 book? No, not necessarily. But are there elements of biology within the Bible? Yes, there is. You see what I'm saying? Are there elements of people being dietitians, physicians, and things like that in the Bible? Yes, there is. And that's clearly illustrated and also subtextually illustrated. You see what I'm saying? So that's what I went over a little bit of, and I showed evidence of that. And also, in my upcoming lectures, I should go further in depth with that to further clarify and confirm. But those are...
Thank you, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, for clarifying that. So, I'm going to open it up to somebody else on the panel to ask their question and to have a miniature-style debate with a Titan, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew. So, Brother Issa, your mic is open. Ask your question.
Okay, brother, you mentioned a few things about Egypt, about Kemet, and just now you mentioned that it's not from anywhere else, the science that you have in the Bible or what it refers to. But in the New Testament, it says that Moses was learned in all the wisdom of the Egyptians. Now we know that when they say wisdom, that is one, they definitely are referring to what we call science today. Physics, psychology, physiology, astronomy, whatever we call science today, that is included in what they call wisdom back then. So whatever Moses was learned in, that came from Egypt, that obviously would have been passed on to the Hebrews. So where would you, or why would you say that it didn't come from anywhere else when the Bible says it came from Kemet?
Number one, the Bible doesn't say it came from Kemet. If the Bible says that Moses was learned in all the way of the Egyptians, that does not automatically mean that the science in which that's found in the Bible is that of the Egyptians. What you're now doing is making an assumption, a false assumption, according to your will. You see what I'm saying? It said he was learned in the way of the Egyptians. Just like if you were born in America, you would be learning the way of the Americans. Does that mean
I said wisdom. Sorry, I said wisdom, brother. Sorry, wisdom.
Whatever you want to say. Does that mean now if you go somewhere else and you start your own thing, would that mean that your ways would be the ways of the Americans? No, because upon the most primitive form of science and observing the way of the Americans, or observing in this case the way of the Egyptians, you would be able to come to conclusions and know exactly what not to do. And in the Bible we see blatantly written, go not as the way of the Egyptians. Hold on real quick. Let me pull this real quick. I believe it's here in the book of Deuteronomy, where basically Moses said, do not as the abominations of the Egyptians. And it went on to name several sexually immoral acts. You see what I'm saying? So to say and assume that just because Moses was learned in the wisdom of the Egyptians, that we then took the wisdom of the Egyptians and used it and called it our own, that's an error, because we clearly made it a point in the biblical narrative to say, don't do what the Egyptians do. So again, that's a moot point. But real quick, I want to get that. I want to see if I can get that.
Can I just respond to that, please?
Go ahead.
Okay, so for some reason, I quoted what it said, and I specifically focused on the word wisdom. You spent most of your answer changing it to way, way, way. you know, that seems like a diversion. But also, hold on. Let me finish.
Call it whatever you want to call it. The fact of the matter is, just because he was learning the wisdom,
I know, I'm going to respond to that. I'm going to respond.
Turned it into the wisdom of the Israelites.
Brother Isa, you can unmute your mic and respond to now what the brother has just said.
Right. So, as I was going to say with my response there, that you avoided the word wisdom, what you quoted in response of what Moses or another prophet said about the Egyptians, you quoted about their abominations. Now, the Bible itself, whoever the writer of that book is, he's calling the wisdom of he's referring to the wisdom of the Egyptians. So he's talking about the knowledge of Moses that he had was not he was learned in the abomination of the Egyptians. He was learned in the wisdom of the Egyptians. So you can't keep twisting and turning left, right. It's very clear what they're talking about. They say Moses was taught all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and he was powerful in both speech and action. That is a positive set of words when they're talking about Moses and what he learned. There's nothing negative there to do with abominations. So I'm not sure why you would twist and turn it.
Okay, well, again, in you saying that does not mean that the Israelites' wisdom was that of the Egyptians. And the brother Melchizedek makes a good point. Where did the Egyptians get their wisdom from? They got their wisdom from Cush. Okay? When did the Egyptian Renaissance happen? When the Cushite pharaohs began to rule over Egypt. So you got that information from Cush. Was coincidentally enough, Abraham came from Ur of the Chaldeans, which was ruled by the Cushites. Okay, so if we want to deal with the wisdom of the Egyptians, is that originally the Egyptians? Does that belong to them exclusively? Or did our forefathers from the same region in which the Egyptians got their wisdom from in the first place? And again, if we were in fact learning the wisdom of the Egyptians and the science of the Egyptians, show me how the Torah and the science that's written within the subtext of the Torah relates in any way to the science of the Egyptians. Because a lot of the things that are forbidden in the Torah was cool as a fan to do in Egypt. Okay? Now, if they were as high in science as the Israelites were and had the same understanding of science as the Israelites did, why did they allow things to happen that Israelites forbade due to observational and higher forms of science? You got to ask yourself that question. And you can't make the assumption based off the fact that wisdom of the Egyptians is written that the wisdom that the Israelites had was the equivalent to that of the Egyptians. You see what I'm saying?
Wow! Oh my days! These debates are getting heated. They're getting fiery. I'm loving the discourse. I'm loving the back and forward. But please, brothers and sisters, understand that you have to keep your mics muted and allow the other person to have their space, their cipher. So I'm going to open it up to somebody else to have a question. Sorry, I have to mute you. So if there's anybody else that has a question that hasn't spoken already, please ask away. If not, I'm going
Let me
to...
ask. I got a question.
Go ahead, Brother Lauren.
Yeah, can I be heard?
You can be heard.
Yeah, in regards, well, I want to make a comment actually. In regards to what Asar said, you know, when you talk about science, everybody that was in Kemet was not dealing with science. First off, you still got people that deal with the dealing with farming and agriculture of the land, rather than dealing with some type of science. That was their science, what they dealt with. Now, one of the things I want to say is when you talk about pneumatic, the Black Americans that's in America today is pneumatic. What are they?
Sorry, I apologize. You're giving us some good commentary and some good points, but I've got to ask you, we're running out of time, so what exactly is your question that you have for our brother Guerrilla Hebrew? Brother Laurent, do you have a question for our brother Guerrilla Hebrew? Okay, everybody.
I got a question. I got a question for him.
Oh, okay, one second,
Um,
one second, one second. Hashtag talk with the Titans. Listen in. If you're listening via YouTube, streaming in, or via the Hangouts, please let your brothers and sisters out there, Hebrew Israelites out there, know we have the lion himself, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew on the line. Milwaukeeans out there, we have Brother Guerrilla Hebrew on the line. Okay, continue.
my question for you, Guerrilla Hebrew man, is do the Jews that you say there are not Jews in the land today, could it be a possibility that they are Jews? Just because they Caucasians, does that not mean that they're not Jews, seeing that Jews were scattered all in Europe and Africa? So we have Jews that's in Africa, we have Jews that's in Europe, this Caucasians, black. So what do you think about that?
Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, you're muted at the moment.
Here we go. Yeah. Good question. As far as the Hebrew Israelites being scattered throughout all the nations upon the face of the planet Earth, that is true. Could there potentially be actual Hebrew Israelites that appear to be Jewish and in the land of Israel? Yes, I definitely say yeah, because we're scattered throughout all the nations. Even though the Hebrew Israelites are definitely predominantly and originally a black people, can people who are of patrilineally Hebrew Israelite appear to be of another race, Caucasian, Asian, or anything else for that matter? Yes, they can. Because of a scattering, there will be a remnant that appears outside of the norm for a Hebrew Israelite. So to answer your question, yes, Laurent.
Okay, thank you. We're reaching the end of the show at the moment. Hold on one second. I apologize about that for the feedback. So we're reaching to the end of the show. We've had our brother Guerrilla Hebrew on the line. We're actually going to continue our discourse, our debate section for a little bit longer. Then afterwards, we're going to sadly cut off from the live feed, and we're going to continue with this, and it's going to get real dirty inside of here. I can feel it. You know, the temperature is rising. Everybody's getting amped up. We've got brother Poverty from Carbon Radio, who's just joined us. If you don't know about our brother Carbon, he runs his own radio show called Carbon Radio, and they have some debate on there. Damn! I got dragged into one of those debates, and I said, never, never again. I can't handle the heat. It's too much. So please support our brother Carbon Radio out there. We have another question coming in from our brother Asar Imhotep. So you know it's about to get heated. This is the committed crew versus the Hebrew Israelite. Who is going to win? I don't know. Lord have mercy. Okay, so our brother Asar Imhotep, please, please, please bring the fire.
I don't know if I would word it as Kemetic versus Hebrew. But again, we're getting back to this science. You know, I won't let the science thing go, because science is built up generation after generation of observation. And so we have Israelites coming into Egypt, 72, the whole camp, and then they come out over 400,000, some 400 years later. And we're supposed to expect that this nomadic group of Hebrews who weren't a people, who weren't a large people, who didn't have hundreds of years of observation under their belt to build. Like, we can demonstrate in terms of mathematics, for instance, that, you know, going back as far as the Ashango bone, that the mathematics that we find in ancient Egypt was built off of what they've done 20, 30,000 years ago in Central Africa. And so my question is regarding what traditions. Now, you know, remember that, you know, people come into contact with other people. There's nothing wrong with that in terms of, you know, you being introduced to a people that has science, and then you build off of it. Like the Arabs, you know, got wind of the science through the Greeks and the Egyptians, and they were able to build off of it and have their own tradition of science. The same thing with the Northern Europeans, who got the sciences from the Greeks, and the Romans, who got it from the Egyptians and stuff like that. Science builds off of each other. So where is this independent outside of the rest of the world that is dealing with science and have been doing it for thousands of years, that is so different and independent that we can talk about the Hebrew science when we don't have any kind of Hebrew scientific treaty text, especially in the Bible itself?
Great question. Great question. The first thing I'd like to address about the question you just asked is the level of science that I'm talking about, that I'm primarily going to focus on in my upcoming lectures, is the Torah science. And the reason why I say the Torah science is independent, especially from the Kemetic science, is because the things and the commandments that are written there are very different from that of ancient Kemet. That's why I'm predominantly and primarily focusing on that aspect of the science, of that being original. Now, is there a scientific synthesis that happens between cultures, as you mentioned? Yeah, definitely. You were a part of the ICUPK, so I know you can walk with me on this, right? We believe that your Central Americans and your and Mexicans and whatnot are Hebrew Israelites, correct? I know you know that coming from this paradigm, this similar paradigm that I'm coming from, right? Now, they came here to the Americas and they built pyramids, but they built pyramids in a different fashion, in a similar fashion to that of ancient Egypt, but in a different fashion. Where did they pick up the science of building pyramids from? We would surmise that they picked it up during our captivity in ancient Egypt. Does that mean that I'm insinuating that all the pyramids in ancient Kemet were built by Hebrew Israelites? No, I'm not surmising that, okay? And a lot of people say that, but that's uneducated to say that all the pyramids in ancient Egypt were built by Hebrew Israelites. That's ridiculous. Okay? But anyway, did they pick that science up from ancient Egypt and bring it over here to this side of the world and build pyramids based upon that science that they got from ancient Egypt? Yes, and I say that because levels of science, like you said, are culturally synthesized, and there's nothing wrong with that, and they build upon it indefinitely. But the part of the science that I'm focusing on primarily, that I'm saying is unique to the Hebrew Israelites, is the science that is written within the subtext of the Torah. You see what I'm saying? And it goes in deep, and it goes 100% against the grain of elements of the Kemetic society. So that's why I'm saying that it's independent from ancient Egypt, and that's what Moses gave us, was the science of the Torah. Therefore, when the brother mentions about how Moses was learned in the wisdom of the Egyptians, and how I'm saying that it's unrelated from the Torah science, that's the premise and the perspective that I'm coming from, so you can understand.
Thank you, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew. We're going to open up back again to Asa Imhotep to respond to our brother Guerrilla Hebrew, if he has a response.
I don't too much have a response on that. I mean, the whole science, like that's a whole debate in of itself, especially when he spoke on the whole theory issue, not understanding that theory is a major part of science. Without the theory, without the abstract, you don't have the questions in order to figure out the deeper components of science. That's why you have a whole field, for example, called theoretical physics. From theoretical physics comes the knowledge of real physics. And so it was theoretical physics that gave us the E equals MC squared, the theory of general relativity. It wasn't proven physically until some years later, but it's that abstract part of it is still science. And so to be like the abstract and theory aspect of it doesn't make it science is kind of backwards, because that is the premise from which science comes. You have to be able to think outside of the imperial, because we understand that your eyes fool you. And so you can't rely on your eyes in imperialism. You have to have something that is independent of your simple eyes in order to deal with science. And so I don't want to, because I don't want to stick on the science. I know he spoke on a whole array of things. That's a different discussion, but I'll just leave it at that.
Thank you, Brother Asa Imhotep. Asa Imhotep, hold on. Asa Imhotep, as you can most probably tell, he's a scientist, a linguist. We should have him on one of the future coming shows. He has done extraordinary work in the field of linguistics, in the fields of African studies. and African comparative languages, etc. I want to move it on slightly, so I'm sorry, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, if you can't respond to this, if I'm not allowing you, should I say, to respond to this. Because we've literally reached the end of our show, but I know there is one person that is just dying, he's bursting there to just ask one question. It is our brother Panahisi Yahudi. Oh my gosh, please, brother Panahisi, let us know, what have you got to say?
All right, shalom.
Shalom.
My question is for the brother Asar Hotep. Now, I always hear a lot of people.
I have to apologize. And say that I can't allow you to ask the brother Asar Hotep any questions at present. Okay, we already know that at the end of the show we go in at each other.
Okay.
So right now we're just focusing on our brother Guerrilla Hebrew. Okay. If you haven't got any questions for our brother Guerrilla Hebrew, I'm gonna have to just move on swiftly.
I asked Guerrilla Hebrew.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, Guerrilla Hebrew. We both Hebrews. We know that people from that ideology, everything comes from Kemet, right? And they say, okay, the Hebrews came and they stole science. They took this. They learned that. They got this from Kemet, right? Question: how could goat herders come and get high science from priestly people when the priesthood didn't get science to the regular citizens of Kemet? How did these goat herders get it?
That's a great question. I would pose the same question. How did this group of goat herders just come in and get this hijack this high level of science and take it and run with it and build our own society and civilization? That's a great question.
They wasn't just giving it out.
Yeah, so exactly. The general, your average Kemetic citizen was not having that knowledge and information. So again, how did these goat herders, these people who are looked down in such a low degree as some nomadic band of people, get this high level of information and then construct their own society based on a more in-depth form of governing system than that of ancient Kemet? That's a great question.
Thank you both, brother Panahisi and brother Guerrilla Hebrew. I know after the show, our brother Asar and my whole tech is gonna just say, no, I'm not having this. I'm gonna just show you what is really going on. I know that there is a conflict going on between the Hebrew Israelites and the Kemetic science, crew. I know our brother Asar Mahotep doesn't fit into that category because he is a scientist and he comes from a rational state of looking at things. So it's going to be wonderful to have this brother in the studios later on. Okay, so if everybody's listening in, please hashtag talk with the Titans to get involved, to see the future shows coming up. As I already said, we have our brother Divine Prospects coming up on the next show. Brother Polight, I will have to get in contact with him to see what's up, what's happening, what is happening, Brother Polight. So please stay tuned in, look us up. We are on Kalam SPL on Facebook. You can find us also, oh my days, the God himself, Smash Rockwell, Brother Jonathan from Amun Ra Squad has just rejoined us again, so you know it's about to pop off. And I'm sorry for everybody out there who does not have the Google Hangouts link to join in right now, because boy, as soon as we go on air, you know it's going to be fire. All right, so if you want to join in with this discourse and you don't have Google Hangouts, please just go online, google.com/hangouts. Takes 2 minutes to download the app on your laptops. It literally takes 2 minutes to download this app onto your iPhone or mobile devices. So please join us for the next show. The next show is Wednesday the 10th I'll repeat that again. It's Wednesday, the 10th of December, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time if you're over in America, or it is at 11 p.m. GMT if you are in the UK specifically, or Europe. Okay, so if everybody has enjoyed the show, please follow us on Facebook, Kalam SPL. Please follow us, subscribe, hit the subscribe button now. If I don't see at least 15 new subscribers today, I'm gonna go ape. Okay, so please subscribe to the channel Kalam. That's Kalam. It's on your screen right now. Kalam L. Subscribe. Alternatively, just hashtag Talk with the Titans. You can hashtag Talk with the Titans on Google, hashtag Talk with the Titans, and we are the first thing that pops up. Hashtag us Talk with the Titans on YouTube. We are the first thing that pops up. We are very active on Facebook as well. You'll find us in various groups in Facebook, hashtag Talk with the Titans, and please join in with the discussions that we have on Facebook as well. Okay. So I'm going to actually open up this space right now and say, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, if there's any things coming up, please let the audience know where they can find you and what events that you have in store for them.
All right. Well, again, I just want to first and foremost say, call hello, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. I got these lectures coming up. The science of idolatry, something I'm working real hard on and dealing with the science, like I mentioned. So look out for that. Look out for that. As well as another lecture I'm working on called "The Bible, Birth, Black Consciousness, and Nationalism." Okay, so look out for that. And there's another. Well, there's a debate that I'm entertaining, but we'll see. I may be attending the event Polight is having in Hollywood with Dr. Sebi on the 21st. Anybody in Southern California stopping there, I should be attending that event. And, of course, if you're looking for me, I'm in the streets every Saturday on Fairmount Women in the City Heights section of San Diego, California. You know what I'm saying? So, that's pretty much my program right now.
Thank you, Brother Guerrilla Hebrew, the Titan Guerrilla Hebrew himself. So please, I'm actually going to let everybody know, please subscribe to Guerrilla Hebrew's YouTube page. He has very interesting activities taking place on there. Please join the groups, join our Facebook groups, join Amun-Ra Squad up on Facebook. Join the Medunicher Facebook group if you want to learn the ancient language of the Medunicher or the Madunicher, or the Manadintaro, or the Madu Indala, depending on the different dialects. Please join in, subscribe to Sarnet TV, where you can see these brothers, these titans going in. Please, log on to Carbon Radio. Please log on to the Magi, the Vanguards of Kemet on Facebook. Please join Brother Jonathan's. Brother Jonathan, what is your blog called? I would like everybody to join your blog.
Oh, yeah, thank you. It is rapgod@wordpress.com.
That's rapgod@wordpress.com. Let them know what type of articles you have in there, please.
Oh, well, basically a lot of intense research on ancient grammar, but as it applies to spirituality and concepts that we think we know. So I put a lot of analysis to various terms.
Thank you. And also, please, the real black atheist Uncle Ket, come on, man. If you're not on Blog Talk Radio, please join Blog Talk Radio and subscribe to that show. Brother Jonathan, do you know what time that show comes on over there for our US audience?
Yeah, it's I'm on the West Coast. For me, it's 7:30 Pacific time, 10:30 Eastern time. I'm not sure what time that would be for you guys out there, but that's on Sunday evenings.
Okay, Sunday evenings. Sunday evenings, please just look out for it. blogtalkradio.com, and that's brother Atheist, the Amun-Ra Squad show. Please subscribe to that. We have obviously Asar Imhotep, the founder of the Madu Endela works as well. He's got a Facebook group called Medu Nicher. Please let us know a bit more about where we can find you, brother.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes, hello.
Oh, were you speaking to me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, please. We,
Oh,
you know, we're all here waiting
no.
to know where can we find your work.
Well, if you're talking about books, you can go to Amazon or you can go to my website, which is asarimhotep.com.
Thank
And
you.
pretty much
And this
anything
brother
about me you'll
has
find there.
very interesting topics going on his page, on his YouTube page, Asar and Hotep. He gets the scholars, the PhDs, the doctors, the masters in different fields of science, in linguistics, in African field studies, etc. So log onto that page. He has various interviews going on. So please stay tuned. We've got a host of titans here on our show, Talk with the Titans, and they will be speaking in the near future. So, just to round up the show, please stay tuned next week, Wednesday, 10 p.m., 6 p.m., Wednesday, the 10th of December, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard or 11 p.m. GMT. And we have the brother Divine Prospects. I want everybody after this to please go onto Sarnet TV or go onto Google and just search Divine Prospect and see the work he's done. House of Consciousness, please see the work he's done. He's done excellent work. If you've got anybody that you want to see featured on the next show, please let us know who you would like to have featured. If there's anybody in the UK that's listening in and you want them to be featured or you want to be featured in the show, please let us know, because I know the Hebrew Israelites are doing their things out there. We have the Muslims out here, the NOI, the Nation of Islam. Oh, I gotta send out a shout out to our brother Minister Hillary. How can I forget Minister Hillary of the Nation of Islam? Oh gosh, she's doing great things. You know what? We're gonna get so solid. 21 seconds, check. 21 seconds, yeah. All right, that's the So Solid crew. I know people in the US, you may know nothing about the So Solid, but Hail Mega, Mega Man from the So Solid crew. You might actually know him because he used to go out with Khalees before Nas, okay? So that's UK people, artists out here. We should get in the studios. Our brother, my Senai himself, brother Swiss from Soul Solid Crew. He's got a new song out called Nigga. I know this is a family show, but this is what the song is called. If you want to be educated on the word nigga and where it comes from, its Latin roots all the way back to its Greek roots, etc., and how it's been used to enforce a spell or enforce a type of mentality on us, this brother, oh gosh, he's been doing great things. So look out for that, brother. I must give another shout out to Anthony, Tina. This is New Africa, Brother Fuse. If you don't know about Brother Fuse, where you have been? I know most of my audience listening from the UK, you already know I do events, I promote, I do this thing. And he used to be on my show literally every single Sunday that my shows were on. 200, 300, 400 people in deep. This brother used to come and perform at the shows live. And look at him now. He's on the big screen, the big stages all over Africa touring up, all over Europe touring. This is Fuse. Please check out that brother because he's doing great things for us over here in the UK and rising the conscious level of us and the perspective that other people, other races, other cultures have of black people. So please stay tuned to these great titans that will be featured on the next show. So this has been Talk with the Titans, and I have been your host, Kalam L.